Assalamualaikum and good afternoon to the panels. My name is Nurusolihah Binti Zamri, and today I would like to present my project 2, which is about performance analysis of spectrum holes using wavelet-based sensing in cognitive radio. So this project is supervised under Dr. Nurusolihah Binti Muhammad. So first I would like to give an overview of my project. Spectrum is known as the invisible radio frequency that wireless signals travel through over. So this signal can enable the user to communicate with the other user through the mobile device, look up direction to a location, and do all other functions. Nowadays, the spectrum resources are in high demand due to the rapid expansion in wireless application and service. To accommodate the rising number of wireless devices, a large volume of spectrum is required. However, the accessible spectrum is a limited resource. To overcome the impending spectrum crunch issue, the concept of cognitive radio has been introduced. Mainly, there are two main users in cognitive radio, which are primary user, that being as a license holder, and the secondary user being as the unlicensed user. The basic concept in the cognitive radio is to identify if the primary user is using the bandwidth that has been allocated to them. Then, the secondary user will identify the available unused spectrum, which is known as a spectrum hole for their own use. A spectrum hole is a licensed bandwidth that has not been unused for some time, typically in a specific location. The secondary user strategically take use of frequency gaps to optimize the spectrum utilization. If the secondary user detects a presence of primary user spectrum band, it will immediately stop using that band and switch to another one that is accessible to prevent interfering with the primary user. In this project, the wavelet-based sensing is proposed in order to identify the spectrum hole. Another goal of this project is to choose the best threshold by analyzing the signal denoising. From that, the performance of wavelet-based sensing approach can be evaluated in terms of probability of detection and also probability of false alarm. Next, we move to the problem statement of the project. The first issue in this project is the demand for frequency spectrum is high growth due to a big data issue, as there are many IoT devices in the network. The second part is there's challenge occur when to detect the spectrum holes in the surrounding accurately. The third issue is comes out when the signal has been transmitted can be easily contaminated by the noise, which make it difficult for them to properly decode. So, in order to overcome the problems, the objective for this project first to formulate a wavelet detection algorithm using MATLAB software to detect spectrum holes in a measured frequency range. The second one is to analyze the signal denoising to choose the best threshold for increasing the performance of detection. And the third objective is to evaluate the performance of the wavelet detection technique in terms of probability of detection and probability of false alarm. So this slide is about the scope of the project. First, the wavelet detection algorithm will be developed using the MATLAB software at frequency 2.4 GHz. Then, the denoising signal will be analyzed by using the threshold function approach. For this project, the high, soft, and also improved threshold will be implemented in the process of denoising noise in the signal. After analyzing the signal denoising, the best threshold will be chosen for detection. By that, the performance of wavelet-based sensing is evaluated in terms of probability of detection and the probability of false alarm. So, for the project significance, This project can give benefit especially to 5G application. This is due to the cognitive radio network based 5G can offer a very high data rates and quality of service application. Besides, the cognitive radio also can be employed in the development of IoT system. Nowadays, the demand for wireless spectrum has expanded as the number of the users also increased by this. So, the interference will occur as device keep getting increased and has to move from one location to next. By implementing this proposed project, the IoT powered by cognitive radio network can intelligently find interference-free channel for effective communication. Next, we move to the literature review of the project. I will give some short overview about the cognitive radio. Cognitive radio is intended to address the issue of static spectrum allocation in order to provide dynamic spectrum access. The main goal of cognitive radio is to provide spectrum through flexible and opportunistic access to the primary user spectrum. Then, the cognitive radio component include with the primary user, which act as licensed user, and the secondary user as the unlicensed user. This slide shows an overview about the spectrum hole. In cognitive radio, the spectrum hole is known as the licensed frequency band that has been vacant for some time, typically in a specific area. In the other words, the primary user did not use the particular band at that time. In order to increase the spectrum utilization in the cognitive radio, the secondary user will strategically take advantage of spectrum voids. So, spectrum sensing technique is the significant element in cognitive radio as it can be used to detect the spectrum hole. Spectrum sensing is used to optimize the probability of detection with low probability of false alarm. Sensing method can be categorized into two types, which are narrow band and wide band. So, this table shows the comparison between the spectral sensing technique, which are energy detection technique, match filter detection, and also the wavelet-based detection. From this table, it can be concluded that energy detection method is the most simplest method among others. However, this method does not give good performance in detection of spectrum hole. For the mesh filter detection, it can be good performance at all signal to noise ratio value, but the complexity using this method is high. Therefore, the wavelet-based detection is proposed in this project as it can give effective performance at all signals noise to ratio value, and it does not require prior information of primary user. This table shows a few previous papers that related with this project. Both of these papers use wavelet-based detection method. From the paper, it can be seen that wavelet-based detection can give a good performance and better detection at high signal to noise ratio. Besides, the complexity by using this method also not too high. Next, we move to the signal denoising in cognitive radio. Noise is one of the challenges in the cognitive radio network. This is because the transmission of data between transmitter and receiver will be affected by this noise, which can affect on the quality of signal. The example of noise source that can contaminate the signals are crosstalk, shadowing, and also the route loss. The threshold method is being used as it is simplest to implement and requires the least amount of processing time. So, this project will propose for 3 types of threshold function in solving the noise effect in the signal, which are high threshold, soft threshold, and also the improved threshold. This table shows the comparison between the high and soft threshold. Okay, for the improved threshold, there are some weaknesses in the both traditional method, like in the soft threshold and also in the high threshold. For example, in the high threshold, the oscillation may be occurred in the signal, which the W prime JK has reconstructed. Meanwhile, for the soft threshold, here will be a constant difference between the original wavelet coefficient and the denoised wavelet coefficient, which making it difficult to effectively resolve the features of the signal. Therefore, the improved threshold has been implemented in order to overcome the weakness for both traditional methods. So we move to the methodology part. This figure shows the flowchart of the project. In the first process, the wavelet detection algorithm will be formulated in the MATLAB software. In this part, the coding is constructed and involve a lot of calculations such as continuous wavelet transform, threshold, probability of detection, and also probability of false alarm. After formulating the wavelet transform algorithm, the coding will be simulated multiple times to get the successful algorithm by using MATLAB software. If the algorithm is not effective, the algorithm is troubleshoot again until getting the successful algorithm. After acquiring the efficient algorithm, the signal denoising is analyzed based on the threshold method that will be used, which are high, soft, and also improved threshold. From this threshold, the best threshold is chosen for the detection of the spectrum hole. After the best threshold has been selected, then the performance of wavelet detection method will be evaluated in terms of probability of detection and also probability of false alarm. Next, this is the system model for wavelet-based sensing. This system model consists of 5 elements, which are wavelet transform, power spectral density, wavelet age, threshold comparison, and the sensing decision. The first element in the system model of wavelet-based sensing is wavelet transform. The input data signal of Yn will be analyzed by the wavelet transform function. Then, the fundamental concept is to estimate the proportion of a wavelet that a signal contains a given scale and location. A wavelet scale indicates how stretched or compressed is it. So, this formula shows the define the continuous wavelet transform formula. Then, for the second part is power spectral density. The power spectral density is standard for utilization for continuous spectrum. The integral of the power spectral density over a given frequency range is used to calculate the average power in the signal across the frequency range. So this equation shows the formula for power spectral density. For the wavelet age, in order to examine age detection and estimation, multi-scale point-wise product of smooth gradient estimators are formed. This method aims to reduce noise while enhancing multi-scale peaks that caused by age. In order to extract the boundaries of the investigated spectrum, this formula is again subjected to the maximum extraction process. So we move to the threshold element. This element is important in the wavelet-based detection as it can be used for denoising of noise effect. Signals are easily contaminated by noise during transmission, which prevents signal from being appropriately received by the receiver. Therefore, the polluted signal should be treated to eliminate the noise and enhance the signal quality. In this project, the high, soft, and improved threshold function will be used for denoising of noise effect in the signal. So this threshold has the same concept, which is to eliminate small wavelet coefficient and reduce large wavelet coefficient. So this slide shows the mathematical equation for high threshold, soft threshold, and the improved threshold with the spectrum hole. Then we move to the ROC curve, which stands for receiver operating. Then we move to the ROC curve. ROC curve is a mathematical representation of the fundamental detection problem. The ROC curve is a graph of the probability of detection and false alarm, where the probabilities are parameterized by threshold. So this is the formula for probability of detection and also probability of false alarm. Okay, next we move to the result and analysis part. So this slide will show the overall result during conducting this project. For the result, it will be divided into three parts. The first part is about result for spectrum hole detection using wavelet transform, and the second part is about analysis of signal denoising using different threshold, and the last part is about to evaluate the performance of wavelet detection in terms of probability of detection and also probability of false alarm. So this slide will show the result for the first part. Firstly, the data of the signal, which contain about 74,320 samples, have been imported into the MATLAB software. From that, an algorithm of wavelet detection has been computed in this project by using MATLAB software to locate the spectrum hole. The left side figure shows graph of the measured signal of data sample containing the noise at the frequency range 2.41 GHz to 2.48 GHz. The right side of result shows MATLAB wideband spectrum, which change from amplitude to become inverse and frequency versus power in unit dBm. The amplitude result need to be multiplied by 2 in order to obtain power. This is due to the fact that noise power data is considerably easier to collect than using the amplitude measurement. Next, this slide shows the simulation result for power spectral density. From this result, if only one site is selected, it is anticipated that the total number of FFT points for this vector will be an even number. The length of the data columns must match the length of the frequency vector. The sampling frequency is normalized if the value of normalized frequency is true. If the normalized frequency is false, then the frequency sampling is set to 1. Okay, so next this graph shows the simulation result for wavelet H. This graph uses a dyadic scales which represent the data. This result illustrate the outcome of a dietic scale, which is often produced by discretizing the scale variable. From the result, it can be seen that the scale and frequency are inversely proportional to one another. Okay, so we move to the simulation result for spectrum holes. Based on this figure, there are two situations to indicate this graph. The first is the power will be 1 if there is the presence of primary user. If there is no presence of primary user located, then it is equal to 0. From this graph also, we can see that the white space and blue space have been classified, where the spectrum holes are represented by the white space and the presence of the primary user is indicated by the blue space. According to this classification, the primary user signal are absent from the white space, whereas the primary user concentrated in the blue space. So, okay, this slide will discuss the result of the second part, which is about the signal denoising using different threshold. So, in this part, the wavelet toolbox is used in order to make an analysis of the denoising signal. The common wavelet analyzer is implemented in the MATLAB in order to get access of the wavelet toolbox. Based on the result, the wavelet decomposition scale is set to 2, while the detail coefficient level is set to 3. The number of detail coefficient level that are being applied is 3. So, if there are a greater number of high-level detail coefficient is implemented, it will decompose the signal to more simplified wave, which will eliminate very small level noise and make the signal clearer. Okay. This slide shows the simulation result for threshold denoising. As been mentioned before, this project implements 3 different type of threshold function, which are hard threshold, soft threshold, and also the improved threshold. For the traditional threshold, the value of threshold D is set to 0.4 and 0.6. From this result, it can clearly see that there are no significant changes in the noisy signal for the soft and hard threshold. Even the threshold value used is different. When the improved threshold is executed, it can be seen clearly that the denoising effect for noisy signal in this threshold perform better compared with the soft and also hard threshold. It means that the noisy signal has been removed, which has improved the denoise of the signal and preserved useful information. This improved function clearly shows that it is more efficient to be used in the signal denoising in wavelet transform detection, as it has reduced a more contaminated noise in the signal compared with the another 2 threshold function. Okay. So we move to the last part result in this project, which is about analysis performance of wavelet detection. So this slide will show the result of the ROC performance by using the wavelet detection method. And this slide also will show the result performance detection when using the energy detection method as the additional result. The SNR value that being used in this project is negative 20.2 dB, negative 21.5 dB and negative 22.8 dB respectively, represented by different threshold, which is improved threshold, threshold 0.6 and also threshold 0.4. This graph shows the result for the performance of wavelet detection in order to compare the different proposed threshold. So the probability of false alarm is assumed as 0.1. This is because when the probability of false alarm is smaller, the chances of the spectrum utilization by secondary user will become more higher. As can be seen in this table, when the probability of false alarm is assumed to 0.1, the improved threshold with the SNR value negative 20.2 dB shows the highest value of probability detection, which is 0.8227 compared with the other threshold. The performance of wavelet detection depends on the signal-to-noise ratio value from each threshold used. According to this graph, also can be analyzed that the probability of detection increase when the SNR threshold increase. Hence, it can be concluded that the improved threshold with the SNR value negative 20.2 dB has the best detection compared with the other threshold, as it has the highest probability of detection value, which is 0.8227. Okay, next, this slide shows the additional result for ROC performance using the energy detection method. Okay, so in this slide, the same SNR value as mentioned in the performance of wavelet detection are used in this energy detection method for the different threshold, which is improved threshold has the SNR value negative 20.2 dB, and the threshold 0.6 we use the SNR value negative 21.5 dB, and the threshold 0.5 the SNR value used is negative 22.8 dB. So based on this table, it can be seen that the performance detection using energy detection is highest at the improved threshold, which the probability detection value is equal to 0.65333. However, the value of probability detection by using the improved threshold in the wavelet detection technique shows the highest value compared with the energy detection method. So this means that the performance detection by using the wavelet detection is better than energy detection. So the probability detection using threshold 0.4 shows the poor detection among of both methods, as it records the smallest value of probability of detection. So as the conclusion from the analysis, it can be evaluated that the wavelet-based detection shows the higher accuracy in detection probability of spectrum when the improved threshold is implemented, which is probability detection equal to 0.8227 compared with the energy detection using improved threshold, which the probability detection is equal to 0.65333. Next, the wavelet detection technique also has the best detection performance compared with energy detection, as the value of detection probability with different threshold in the wavelet detection technique are higher compared with the energy detection technique. And the last one is the wavelet detection can be implemented in the cognitive radio network, as it can enhance the spectrum utilization and highly can be implemented especially in the wireless communication and medical field, as it can improve the quality of service. So that's all from me. Thank you.